Hello and welcome to yet another mindful conversation. Today we're joined by someone who has shaped the fashion industry of Pakistan, someone who's a household name and has been working in the field for about 2 decades now. Mr. Kamiar Rokni, we would like to begin by asking how true is it that you designed your first outfit when you were 7 years old?
It's very true. Probably was 7, if not younger.
Yeah.
I'm that classic bacha who was interested in fashion from a very early age, and specifically clothes. There are stories in my family. I have a very glamorous aunt, Nina, and when she came to visit my parents in Iran,
Yeah.
I went into her suitcase and started taking her clothes out and would run into the closet and hide with the clothes. And then when I was young, I would cut up any fabric and make little clothes for dolls. So yes, I was designing my own clothes. I was designing other people's clothes when I was 7, 8, 9. And my grandmother used to take me उस ज़माने में 1980s में आप कपड़े की दुकान पे जब जाते थे और prints ढूंढते थे. So I was that little kid who was told to find the prints.
You had that magic eye since the beginning, I guess.
Everybody, mashallah, in my family is very artistic. It's a culture of our family. My uncle is a painter who has a great color sense. My nani also had a great color sense. My mother's sense of color is good. Like everybody's natural gift in my family is a sense of color. In fact, when I was very little, I went up to a relative and said that this green is not suiting you. And I was so little that they thought that somebody had said it to go and say it. And they didn't believe. They said, somebody has said, who has told you to say this? But I had said it on my own.
Interesting. So, and talking about your family, you have a very interesting heritage, I would say, with an Iranian dad and your mother from Bahawalpur.
Mixed race. My parents, my mother is from South Punjab, from a feudal agricultural family, and my great-grandfather and great-great-grandfather were home ministers for the Nawab of Bahawalpur, and my father was studying at the government college in the late 1960s when the Shah of Iran was in power, and I think it was Ayub Khan. There used to be lots of exchange students, so he was studying psychology. He was a class fellow of Mr. Shafkat Mahmood, and he used to teach at the Iranian Cultural Center, and my mother was with her elder brother at NCA, and they met and they fell in love, and she rebelled because she didn't like any of the proposals that were coming for her, and she married my father, and they got married and moved to New York.
Sounds like a very strong woman.
She is a very strong woman indeed. She decided that this was the man that I want to marry, and she rebelled, and my nana was like, who is this random Irani guy? And they got married, and then they moved to New York City where they both finished college, and then they moved back to Iran and had my elder brother Maziar. And then they had me, and then sadly they broke up in 1979, and my mother came back to Bahawalpur literally on one of the last planes before the revolution happened and people couldn't fly out anymore. So it was very good timing, I suppose. So then I identify as Pakistani, to be honest, and I identify as Saraiki.
Oh, very interesting. Could you speak Saraiki?
Very badly, and I'm not going to embarrass myself for speaking it. I like to speak it, but I don't speak it very well. Sadly, my Nana Nani didn't speak to their children in Saraiki. In fact, their children all went to boarding schools because in those days they were very strict about education, and they sent all the girls to Murray Convent and all the boys went to other boarding schools. So they don't speak Saraiki. Sad. Sad.
Yeah, it's a very sweet language.
It is. It is. Saraiki is a vibe.
So tell me about your education. How and what shaped you?
Well, my education until I was about 17 was a very classic kind of education. I went to Sadiq Public School in Bahawalpur, which I call is like, I suppose, the country cousin of HSN. It's the country
Yeah.
cousin of HSN. It was an all-boys school, and it was, there was lots of activity, and there was lots of padhai,
Yeah.
and it was quite tough for somebody who was kind of artistic and maybe a little bit sensitive, but I was also, it made me tough. It made me really tough, and to this day, that toughness is there with me that I got from going through Sadiq Public School.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Lahore when I was 17 years old to go to the Lahore College of Arts and Sciences, which is Lakas, which in those days was a small school in Gulberg near Ghalib Market. And that is where I went to a co-ed school to do my A-levels, and all of a sudden I had other options. I was not just studying science subjects, I was studying history and government and politics, and my class fellows were Hassan Shahriyar Yasin and Mahin Kardar. That's where I met these people. And we had a great time in Lakas, and we had some fantastic teachers who, I mean, recently we lost Mrs. Sonu Rahman, who was a great educator, and she was our history teacher. And the friendships that I made in Lakas really, really are still important to me today. So it was a great experience. And then just as I had finished Lakas and kind of was a little confused, and there wasn't enough money in the family at that time to send me abroad, like straight to New York to FIT or to London to Central St. Martin's, the Pakistan Institute of Fashion Design came about. And that was a project that was started 2 or 3 years before I joined. I was the third batch, and I joined it in 1996 and graduated in 2000. Maria B was in the first batch. I don't know if there's anybody famous in the second batch, but myself, Hassan Shahriyar Yasin, Mahin Kardar were in the third batch, and Nomi Ansari was in the year below us.
Oh.
And then when I graduated in 2000, basically we graduated in the summer, and a couple of months later, my mother had bought me a sewing machine and given me money, because she's a real believer in you can do whatever you want to do, but you have to do it.
Yeah.
So I was encouraged to do what I wanted to do, but when I was being kind of lazy after graduating, she was kind of like, "Acha, ab,
little push that you
push
need
karo."
at that
And then
time.
Maheen came with this idea that why don't we have a little exhibition of clothes, and we started like tailoring clothes and making them. And then mums and aunts and everybody were like, "Oh, I like this, I'll take it." And we never really got to an exhibition, and we had a business. And then Sheru gave us the name Karma because it was K-A, and Maheen was M-A, and they put a ulta R in the middle, and Karma was born. And
Okay.
for 2 years, Karma was just basically, my parents gave some money. I think Maheen's Nana gave us 5,000 each. And then it was upstairs in my mother's house. We were like this small ghar ka business.
Yeah.
And then Maheen's husband graduated and joined us and brought an investor. And it kind of became the first proper fashion business and was the first ready-to-wear shop. And I did that for about 6 years. But then I wanted to be on my own. And I moved on and started the House of Kamiar Rokni in 2006. And now we are in 2026. So I've been working in fashion for over 25 years. But the House of Kamiar Rokni is also 20 years old.
That sounds amazing, and it is like a very long time.
When you were introducing me and saying that, he's one of the, I mean, I never think of myself as that person, because in my head, I still feel like, you don't kind of realize how many years have passed. And yes, now I am that senior person who maybe sets a certain standard and has shaped the industry.
Yes, because if I were to introduce Pakistani fashion to somebody who does not know what it is, your name would be there, because you are one of those people who have shaped the industry, like literally, and somebody who is a household name. That is how I see it, and I'm sure a lot of people see it that way as
It
well.
feels good. At this point in my life, I will accept it and
should.
appreciate it and be grateful for it
Yeah.
and be responsible with that title.
Yeah.
Because I think with that kind of, if
Comes a
people are
great
putting you on
responsibility.
that thing, then you have to be responsible.
Yeah. So tell me, like, आपके काम में, how much Bahawalpur का influence do we get to see?
Very influential in my work because it is a hub of crafts and craftsmanship. And वहाँ पर कई किस्म की embroideries होती हैं, but the one that I use the most is gota work. So that is very much my Bahawalpuri heritage because I remember my grandmother would get all the girls mayo and mendi jodas made from the mai who used to come to our house to do the gota work. So there were always clothes being made, and a lot of those clothes were gota work, or they were shadow work, or they were tarkashi. There was all kinds of embroidery, even rilli and applique work. So I was very familiar with different craftsmanship from a very, very early age. And that Bahawalpuri touch is there. Also, Bahawalpur is in the desert. We are in the south, and I grew up in Bahawalpur, but we also have lands in Rahim Yar Khan. And Rahim Yar Khan is like almost Sindh. And then, my mother's aunt and uncle, who were my grandparents' siblings, were also married to each other, and they had a big house in Karachi. So before Lahore came into my life, my other exposure to big city was Karachi, and Karachi is filled with its own diversity. And my mother's class fellow in NCA was Noor Jahan Bilgarami, who did Koyal and the block print. So I grew up with seeing her clothes. And my aunt was also very glamorous, and she lived in Karachi. And she has clothes from Rizwan Beg's first collection. And they were wearing Auntie Maheen's clothes when they were young women, and Faiza Sami's clothes, and Banto Kazmi's clothes. So I was exposed to proper Pakistani fashion as a young person. In fact, I think I met Auntie Maheen when I was 6 years old for the first time. And I remember being taken to her and being introduced to her that, this is Kami, he wants to be a designer.
Yeah, so you were nurtured and you were like,
I
you had
am
exposure to
an
all of that.
example of what you can achieve if your family supports you and if your parents let you follow your passion. And you can do really well.
You can.
If you are
no
encouraged.
doubt.
So I would encourage parents to not squash their children's dreams.
That is so
And
important.
because for success, it's not important to be a dentist or a lawyer or for security. I think the most important thing is passion. If you have passion for something, chances are that you're going to make it.
You're going to make it. No, that's a very important message that you're giving out. So from there to the journey of House of Kamiar Rokni, how has it been? Shuru se, like, kis tarah ka?
It was a bumpy start because, I didn't know about business when I was younger, and Karma had an investor, and all of a sudden I had a very small percentage in the company. And when I parted ways, I didn't part ways with a lot of money. In fact, none. So I had to rebuild. And again, I was fortunate in having family that supported me. My cousin literally rescued me, and she had a business in the back of her house, and she said, come join me. And she said, we'll do this together. And we became 50-50 partners, and she, provided infrastructure and some financial support. But however, from the beginning, at that early stage of starting the House of Kamiar Rokni, because it was a big scandal and people felt a little sorry for me that I was left with nothing, they would be like, how can we help you? How can we help you? I used to say, just come order clothes. And I would make clothes for them. So I've always been a very good made-to-order designer. And that doesn't mean that that's just bridals. It means I'm just good with making clothes. It can be anything, and I always use that skill to slowly grow this business. And in the first 2 years, we, didn't have a lot of funds. We just kind of stuck to what we were able to achieve, but slowly built it up. We did some experimentation with a lesser price range thing. We did some experimentation with ready to wear. But after a while, my relationship with craftsmanship and embroidery started to grow. And I realized that with the kind of financial model I had, which is like not ginormous funding to put into this business, the bridal industry was possible for me to grow a business in because you make less, but you make a higher value
The profits are
product,
more,
and it's
yeah.
more luxury. And also on a creative level, like if you decide to engage with craftsmanship and really make beautiful things, there's an audience for it.
Definitely.
People in our part of the world still want beautiful handmade things. So at some point, I realized I'd become that the money was coming in through the bridal.
Yeah.
And if I needed to grow my business, I would really focus on that. So I decided that forget about the ready to wear. Let's just really refine the bridals and the clothes that we offer to event wear, I suppose, as well, right? Because it's not just for the bride, it's for the South Asian wedding. The South Asian wedding is a very special kind of wedding because I don't think anywhere else in the world do you have a shadi that can go on for 7-8 days.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
You don't have that anywhere else.
We don't
So
find that
you
anywhere.
have, let's see, what all do you have? You have, you start with the milad,
Yeah.
then you have a mayo, then you have some kind of a kavali,
Yes.
then you have a mendi,
Yeah.
then you have maybe a party dholki
Dholkis,
kind
you're
of, before the
forgetting.
mendi, you maybe have a party
Yeah.
dholki, then you have a mendi,
You have a lot
then
of
you
them.
have the actual shadi, and then you have the walima. So that's about like 7, 8.
Easily, yes.
Easily. And people need clothes, and they need
Yeah.
all kinds of clothes. And my skill as a designer is to make real clothes for real women, to dress them for this very important occasion, whether they're a bride, whether they're a sister of the bride,
Yeah.
whether they're a guest.
Everybody can come
That
to you.
is my line of work. And once I decided that that was what I was going to do, I decided to commit to it and offer different variety and options. And I think that's what makes me a little different from other designers. I'm not like a one-trick pony. I have many different styles. I can do many different things. That's because I've worked at it and keep, if a client comes to me that's challenging, I lean into the challenge. I don't say my way or the highway.
And what is sort of your philosophy when you're designing an outfit?
My philosophy is that it has to serve the person who is wearing it. So the outfit is important, but the person is more important than the outfit. You have to wear the clothes. The clothes should not wear you. And my philosophy is also that, yes, I'm making a proposition, but at the end of the day, the other person should receive the proposition. I shouldn't have to force it on anyone. So you have to work with the person. But otherwise, I think designing or clothing design is a mixture of what is most important is the cut. And, that's the engineering.
Yeah.
That's how you engineer a building. Then is the planning and the designing. And then there's the decoration on top. But all of those elements have to come together beautifully. There has to be balance.
Yeah.
There has to be some art to it. There has to be some culture to it. And then, of course, there has to be imagination. Because you want it to be imaginative, you want it to have an element of surprise, and you also want it to move, and you want the person to be able to move beautifully, because elegance is kind of in movement. Anything that's stiff that you can't move in, you're not really going to look elegant.
That is somewhat the conversation, the topic of the conversation. Abhi, recently that I heard, wearing Kamiar Rokni's clothes, the girls are able to glide. That's
there you go.
Say.
The proof is in the pudding. Recently, we had that fashion show, and yes, they were gliding, because I make sure that you are able to move in clothes. I mean, I think maybe women are maybe used to being constricted because society constricts them and puts them in boxes, and they always have to say yes, 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 and then they have to wear tight clothes. And men are running around everywhere, and they are used to used to movement. So I don't want to constrict anyone. People should be able to move.
Yeah, and it's so important that you think of it like this. So coming to the Lam Fashion Week, your return was like the most anticipated. I think it was a highlight of the show. And you came back after quite a long time.
Well, I did. Yes, the last fashion show I did was a small little solo show
Yeah.
on my friend's rooftop, which was in November 2021. And after that, there sadly has not been a platform that I felt
Yeah.
comfortable being a part of. There are other platforms and they suit other businesses. But myself, I was very, very loyal and devoted to the Pakistan Fashion Design Council. I was a board member, I was a spokesperson. I have a lot of love and respect and admiration for Seher Sehgal. So when the Lam situation happened, and it was Saad Ali who had, and I knew the Lam boys as well, and Maheen, and then I thought about, the right synergy. And I think this is the right people funding fashion because it's an online portal that
Yeah.
sells clothes all over the world. It made sense to me. And also, at a personal level, it was my friends were doing it. And if I didn't do it and show people that it can be really great for you, then how will we, get it going back up again? So
Yeah.
I was really happy that I was a part of it. I didn't expect this kind of enormous, warm kind of love and respect that came from it,
Yeah.
because it had been a long time, and I'm very happy that it happened because I appreciated it,
Yeah.
and it made me realize that I have a job to do. It was a return to the runway, which is a very simple meaning, but it was also the idea behind it was returning to craftsmanship.
Yeah.
We are living in the age of technology, and I think people who do handmade things, they should keep doing them, and they should return to those handmade things, people that are moving away from it. So that was one idea. And it was also a return to yourself. I think sometimes we lose the way, but we are always there waiting for ourselves to come back. So there were lots of different ideas, but as a whole experience, it ended up being very exciting. It ended up being very heartwarming because I received a lot of respect, love, and admiration. And I realized that I should accept the fact that maybe I am an inspirational person for young people, because there were so many young people that came up to me during those 4 days who were very excited to be there, who were very excited to look at fashion. So I think it's a very, very positive thing for our country to be able to highlight people who are doing different kinds of work. And it's a great industry. And I'm glad that we have this platform again.
Definitely.
And even as a designer, it's like muscles. If you don't use your muscles, they're going to get weak. So what fashion shows do, that they force you to use all your muscles. You have to think about how you're going to present the collection. You have to think about what the invite will be. You have to think about the visuals. You have to think about the music. You have to think about the styling. You have to figure out who's going to do what, who's going to wear what. So that's a lot of muscles that had become a little rusty. So it was good to get that exercise again.
I'm sure,
And also, things have really changed. Lahore, in terms of the fashion industry, is really, really a vibrant place because there's so many amazing young people who work in the fashion industry now. They're fantastic stylists, they're fantastic photographers, they're fantastic videographers, art directors. They're all here because we are really essentially a college town. So we have the fashion school, we have NCA, we have BNU. So that has brought, young people are really, very,
creatives and
very creative.
Creatives are like there.
They're
And
there.
they're working very hard and
Exactly.
making name for themselves.
Exactly.
And that was going to be like one of the questions. How do you think the audience and the people on the receiving end have changed? You've seen like it go all through a transition. What do you think has changed in this time?
There's a whole audience that's looking at it on social media.
Yeah.
And, there was a time where the reviews were just in the newspapers by a few reliable reviewers. But now there's all kinds of people who's appreciating your work and telling you that they appreciate it and promoting it because they're on social media. So that's completely changed. And I think we're also living in the age of, like, social media is two things, like you can be really fake, but people can tell what's fake on social media. It's kind of made it sort of a level playing field, like it's the age of authenticity. So if you are maybe genuinely good, and if your values are right, they shine through and people can see it and they appreciate it, and it sets a positive example. So that felt different. That felt different because the audience is going out. But on a personal note, like the people who come to the shows, mashallah, I've been making clothes for 25 years and I haven't really ever lost a client.
Oh, wow. Oh, I think that's a legacy, I'm sure.
I haven't really. They always come back, and now their children are coming back. This season, I had a bride who, at a final nikah jora fitting, took out a picture, and she was 4 years old, and she was wearing a little outfit that I had made.
Oh my God.
So I'm old, but I love it.
Yeah. No, and मुझे थोड़ा सा ये बताएं कि when you design, an outfit, what is something that you make sure, is present in there, and somebody who maybe wants to rewear it after, let's say, 10 years, 20
Well,
years?
I think the most important thing is that there has to be quality, and that quality comes from fabric and craftsmanship. That is just has to be there. Then there's cut. The cut has to be there. Those are the things that have to be there. And what I essentially do is I work with tradition, I work with heritage things and update them and modernize them for the current day. And how that happens is that you have to think of the woman. Who is she? Where is she going? What is she doing? You have to think of those things. How are women dressing these days? What do they need? Where are they going to wear these things? How can they wear them? How can they rewear them? You have to keep that in mind.
And do you think you would ever venture into lawn?
I don't know if I'm going to go into lawn, but I think I'm definitely going to go into the luxury unstitched place and start with that. But then who knows what the future holds. There's a whole other side of my designing skills that at the moment is not being used, which is casual clothes, everyday clothes, and clothes for young people. So who knows? Maybe this is just another beginning of something new.
Maybe. And everybody hits a creative block once in a while. What do you do to solve that? Where do you go? Where do you find your inspiration?
I read a book.
You read a book?
I read a book, and I would really recommend that people read books.
Yeah.
When you're stuck, read a book.
That sounds amazing. And what does a day in your life look like?
A day in my life starts really early. I'm one of those fortunate people who sleeps on time and wakes up on time. And so I wake up early in the morning. I have a dog. I have to let the dog out. Then I have a beautiful terrace, and I have to look at my plants and all of that. And I like a slow morning. वो जो सारे लोग रात को रिलैक्स करते हैं ना, थोड़ा सा YouTube चेक करना, थोड़ा सा Instagram चेक करना, थोड़ा सा lie around and nothing करना, वो मैं सुबह को करता हूँ. And then my day begins. By 10 o'clock I'm out. I go to the workshop. I check everything that's on the addas. I usually do a lot of customized work, so I have to pay attention and do it myself. And then I come. Appointments start from 12 noon and carry on till 5 p.m. By 6 p.m. I like to finish. I don't like to work late. I don't want anybody else in my office to work late, and I also want them to take Saturday off. But during the season, we can't take Saturday off. But when it's slower, we take Saturdays off.
What time of the year is like the busiest?
Busiest from, say, November till March is super busy, especially with local. But now that we live in a global village and everybody can slide into your DMs, and in 15 minutes they're in touch with you on a WhatsApp call. 50% of our business is people that live abroad. So this wedding season, which will be right now, is a wedding season, and after Ramzan will be weddings, and then summer is wedding season in USA.
Right.
So it never really slows down, but it's crazy from sort of November to March.
And if you had not been a designer, what do you think you would have become?
I think I would be involved in the arts for sure. I think I might have been some kind of a performer. maybe an actor or a musician, if I'd gotten into that direction.
Yeah.
But then there's also a very nerdy academic side of me. I could have been in academia. I could have been a professor. I don't know. Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
So
All
many
of those things may still happen.
Maybe. And you have been mentoring a lot of young individuals, a lot of designers in the making. How do you see the talent that's coming up?
There's a lot of talent in our country, and one way to give back to your country, and generally, we think of zakat as something that is just money, but that can also be mentoring people and giving people time and helping others. So
Yeah.
I just have that mentality. I believe in paying it forward. I believe that I can do good for my country on a micro level, and that is by mentoring the young.
And where do you think the fashion in Pakistan is heading towards?
Well, with platforms like Lam Fashion Week coming up again, I think we're about to enter the age of creativity again, because things have become very commercial, and creativity has been a little on the back burner, and money making has been on a up burner.
Yeah.
But when you have fashion weeks, then all of a sudden people see what creativity looks like, and then they want to do it too, maybe. So I'm thinking that we're going to enter a creative era.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Fingers
And,
crossed.
Going into the future, what are you looking forward to?
What am I looking forward to in the future? I'm just looking forward to being healthy and active till I drop dead. And I want to organically grow my business and find new markets and new opportunities for what I make, which is heritage handcrafted clothes.
Yeah. And lastly, what does being mindful mean to you?
Being mindful to me means that you should be aware of your actions. And not all of our actions are good, but when they're bad, you shouldn't gloss them over and pretend like they weren't bad. And you should have the ability to self-reflect and course correct.
Very, very meaningful, I must say. Well, thank you so much for your
It was a pleasure. I really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you for coming.
And we look forward to seeing more magic from you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in.